Hi everyone. I'm going to be doing the summary of my conversation with Ben Bath, where we talked about raising daughters and having it against the backdrop of the feminist construct. And it was a really challenging conversation because we were both really sensitive about the fact that there is definitely a role for a feminist, and it's really important that, because we both have daughters, right? He's got 4 daughters and I've got 2 daughters. It was a really difficult conversation because we want to raise our daughters in a world where they can thrive and they can do well for themselves and they can be happy and they can achieve pretty much their full potential. But at the same time, we do not want them to be faced with certain kinds of stigma or be seen to be antagonistic. And we want them to come into the fullness of their femininity, but at the same time play on a playing field where they are not treated differently just because of their sex. And there were a few things that came out of that conversation, and I want to do the highlights of that. So, to families, the first thing is your daughters will set the standard of how they'll be treated based on the way you treat their mother. And that's definitely something that's stood out for me in that conversation. We talk about it in colloquial terms as daddy issues. And we want to raise our daughters to be courageous and to be brave and to carry baggage of emotional problems. And women should be raised to be confident and to feel like they deserve the best and they have value. And so that's one thing that's definitely stood out for me. He talked about women's ability to be problem solvers and the ability that women have to crystallize and come to a solution, especially in the boardroom. And I've seen that. And I remember in the comment section where there were comments when we put the content out there, where people also felt like there are businesses that are run by women that are not doing really great. And it was really interesting to listen. But I have seen how a lot of businesses that are run by women are really hard on themselves. And so they go the extra mile. And so it's really important that we are mindful of the fact that in raising our daughters, we also teach them not to think that things will be handed to them on a silver platter and that they put in the work. In one of the external conversations, a big thing that came up was around how our kids do what they see us do and not what we say. And that's universal, but especially for our daughters, the values that we instill in our daughters are based really strongly on the examples that they see around them. And so it's finding other strong female role models for them to mimic and for them to, and maybe mimic is not the right word, for them to see for them to see that it's possible. And so that's definitely a very important thing as you raise daughters. Open conversations, that is big. The days of because I said so, and by the way, I say because I said so, so I'm not kind of being pretentious, right? But the days of not having open conversations with our daughters are gone, because we want them to be more aware and we want them to understand why things happen a certain way, even when it comes to relationships, even when it comes to their interactions with other women and their interactions with men. That's definitely a big deal. And the final highlight from my conversation with Ben I would like to shed light on is women supporting other women. I think more and more women are supporting other women. And once again, I will refer to the comments where that came up, where, there were a lot of comments where a couple of people, especially on TikTok, felt like women don't support other women. I think that's definitely changing. A couple of years ago, that would have been my sentiments, but we are finding that women see the benefit in supporting other women, and women are huddling together and supporting each other. And so we will continue to raise our daughters to thrive. We will continue to realize that There is a lot of power in raising independent, sufficient women, self-sufficient women. We will also acknowledge the fact that women do not think that they can, the goal is not to live without men. The goal is that they see value in themselves, and that value is complemented by having the right partner or life partner as they go into relationships. Thank you for the conversation, and thank you for listening to this.